Okay, so today we're going to do a brake service on a 2008 Toyota Sienna. This will work for many different years of Siennas and probably a lot of different Toyotas as well. If you were changing your brakes, like brakes and or pads and rotors, this I'll show you how to do that as well. So first thing, you're gonna need. I have a ratchet. This is like a long flex head that kind of helps sometimes. I've got a 14 millimeter and a 17 millimeter socket. Got some channel locks I use to push the piston back in the caliper. I've got a wire brush and a couple of different pry bars that I'll use. And I've also got a long Johnson bar or breaker bar, whatever you call that. That can help with the bracket bolts because they can be pretty tight. And then as well, just got some brake clean and different forms of, I've got anti-seize and as well as I've got brake lube. So you'll need both of those. So first thing I start with is we grab your 14 millimeter, and there's two bolts. There'll be one here and one down here, and that holds the caliper on. So we'll just break those loose. They're pretty easy to come loose usually. They're just a small little bolt. Just spin them out by hand. And then I set them in a little tray over here. And then you can usually just peel the caliper off by hand like that. And that one comes off nice. And then I just set it up top here on top of the rotor. And now you've got the bracket with the pads in it. So I'm just going to take my pads out like this. There's the inside one. You can see these are still really good thick pads. I'm just doing a service on them. I usually do a service before we put the winter tires on. That's what I'm doing today. I'm putting the winter tires on, doing an oil change and getting it all ready for winter. So I've got the pads out now. Now there's two bolts, one back here, I think you can see that, and then there's also another one at the top. They will be a 17 millimeter, and I'm going to use probably the long breaker bar. We'll try just this small ratchet first. They are generally pretty tight. Yeah, so we'll end up using the breaker bar on them. Okay, and then there's that comes off. There's the little bolt. Put that in my tray as well. And as you can see on mine, the rotor came off with it. So I'll go ahead and take that off now. Most of the time, you're not going to be that lucky, and it's going to take some hitting with a hammer to get that off. When I did the brakes, when I put the new pads and rotors on, I put anti-seize on the hub right here. And then you'll just get the rotor, you won't have any fight taking it off when you go to change them next time or when you go to service them. So now, let's go ahead and I'll show you the bracket, what we're going to do with that. Alright, so this is the caliper bracket, and this is where the pads go, kind of in these channels here, one here and then one on the other side. So in there is like tin clips, so I'm just going to take some brake clean and just have like some paper towels, and then just gonna wipe those out quick, and then we'll put some grease on those, and that'll help the pads slide. And then as well, you'll see right here, these are the sliders. So these are what allow the caliper to kind of slide back and forth. So we'll take those out and we'll lube them up. I'll show you how to do that. So first, let's clean these tin clips off. Okay, you can see now they're a little bit shinier and more cleaned up. And now we can go ahead and take these slider pins out. So hopefully they should come out without too much of a fight. So right now I'm just kind of twisting on them and they should come out. There we go. See, now you can see they're kind of freed up. It slides back and forth like that. So you can just kind of pull them out, kind of separate it from the boot there. And that'll pull out like that. And then we'll just wipe the old grease off. I'll put some of my new grease on. And this is what I have. It's just, I think it's made by Permatex, and it's just like a general purpose. It's purple. It's a purple like brake grease. So I just put a little bit of that on each of the slider pins and put them back in their boots. Alright, there's those. They're slide good now. Both of them slide up and down. And so now I'm going to add a little bit of that same brake grease into the clips that we cleaned up earlier. Just a little bit. And then we can go ahead and put the rotor back on and put the bracket back on. So I'll just do that now. Okay, so now we're ready to put the rotor back on. In the center here, around kind of in that hat there, I've put a little bit of aluminum anti-seize, and then that will help in the future with the rotor will come right back off like how it did before, and it won't get seized on there. So that just sets on there like that, and you can see I still have my caliper up top here, and then a tip. Because you can see the rotor just kind of flops down like that. If you grab one of your wheel nuts, hold that up like that, then you can just spin that on all the way up flush to the face, and it'll hold your rotor on there, so it's a little bit easier. And you can see now it's nice and sturdy on there. So we can now put our caliper bracket on. So we've got the caliper bracket and the two mounting bolts, and then we can just throw that on here. Bolts in. Tighten those down. You can use a torque wrench on these if you'd like. I'm not going to, just because I've done it so many times. I kind of know how to do it by feel, but I believe the torque for these is somewhere around 100 foot-pounds. You have to look it up for sure, but I usually just use a long bar and just snug. Now we can put our brake pads in. So, just gonna add, you can see kind of like on there's the little, I guess you call them the ears of the pad. I'm just gonna wipe those off and add just a little bit of that purple brake grease onto them, and then they'll just slide right into our bracket again. Alright, those are all cleaned up on the ears. Now I'm going to add on the back here, this is where the piston touches, so I'm going to add some grease. You can kind of see that circle where it's already been. I'm going to add some grease onto there, and that'll help with brake squeal, and then also just a little bit on the ears. And the same with the other one. You can see the two kind of like rust lines. That's where it touches the brake bracket. So we'll just add some grease on the back there, and same on the ears. And then this just slides right in. Alright, and then those are in there now. And if you were putting your new brake pads in, you can see on the you can see the piston right here. It's a little bit sticking out, but if you have worn out brake pads, it'll be sticking out a lot more. So I'm just going to take my channel locks, and I'm just going to basically pinch it kind of like that until the piston is flush again, and then that'll be able to accommodate the width of your new brake pads.
Just like that.
And now I can just put it right back on over top of the brake pads. Grab one of my bolts and I'll just put that in the top, and that helps when you're putting it together. And then we'll grab our 14mm again and just snug these up. Again, you can use a torque wrench if you'd like, but these are not very much torque. Maybe only 20 to 30 foot-pounds, I would say. Again, I'm not sure, so you'd have to look it up. And there we go. That's pretty much it. You just have to put your wheel on and torque your lug nuts down, but other than that, it's pretty simple. It shouldn't take you very long, and it's good maintenance item to do. Helps your brake pads wear a lot more evenly, and you get more life out of everything. And it's good while you're in here. You can just have a good visual inspection of everything before you put your winter tires on, and your car will be ready for winter. If there's any other videos you'd like to see, just drop a comment. I have a couple other Toyota cars and some Mazda cars as well. If there's any things you'd like to see on those, just let me know. Otherwise, thanks for watching.